This podcast is brought to you by the School of Advanced Study, University of London.
It is a great pleasure to welcome Nancy and Guy Hargrove back to the Eliot Summer School, and now to share their scholarly and musical talents with the Friends of Little Gidding and members of the T.S.Eliot Society. Nancy is the William L. Giles Distinguished Professor Emerita of English at Mississippi State University, where she taught Eliot and 20th century American and British poetry and drama and Southern literature, winning every distinguished teaching award that they have. Then they have to bring in some from other places. Her first book on Eliot, Landscape as Symbol in the Poetry of T.S. Eliot, brought her to Little Gidding and its landscape for inclusion in that wonderfully illustrated book of Eliot's work in landscape. Her second book was on Sylvia Plath's poetry, The Journey Toward Ariel, in 1994. And in 2009, she published a masterpiece, T.S. Eliot's Parisian Year. She has been a Fulbright lecturer in France, Belgium, Sweden, and Austria, and is past president of the South Atlantic Modern Language Association. Guy Hargrove is professor of music emeritus at Mississippi State, where he directed musical theater and taught voice, performance, and musical theory, and conducted the university's symphony orchestra. He studied in Paris with the great composers Francis Poulenc and Pierre Bernat, and studied and received degrees from the École Normale Supérieure de Musique, the New England Conservatory of Music, and the University of Iowa, where he received his doctorate in performance and literature. He is a tenor and has been featured in concerts throughout the United States and Europe. The Hargroves will delight us today with the performance of T.S. Eliot and popular music, Ragtime, music hall, Bawdy Ballads, and all that jazz. It's supposed to be cloudy right now, but I apologize for the sunlight that may have some effect on your vision, but try to get yourself in a position to see as best as possible. Nancy and Guy.
Very much. Can you hear? Well, we've heard a Scottish accent today, a British accent, and I have a Southern accent, so I hope that's not a problem for you. If it is, deal with it, okay? Please move if you need to see the slides. Oh my goodness. It's going to be quite a challenge to see these slides. We were really hoping, amazingly, for cloudy weather, but we didn't get it. So you can put the first one up. Throughout his life, T.S. Eliot not only enjoyed the various forms of popular entertainment in America, France, and England, but also was greatly influenced by them in writing his poetry, plays, and essays. Indeed, many of their elements are reflected in numerous ways, from the earliest of his works to the last. David Chenetz, in T.S. Eliot and the Cultural Divide, illustrates the extent to which Eliot in his youth... I need you to look. Sorry. See, we're having to kind of improvise here, because usually I do the slides myself, but he's got to watch me. Okay, so David Chenetz in T.S. Eliot and the Cultural Divide illustrates the extent to which Eliot in his youth was steeped in and influenced by American culture. My book, T.S. Eliot's Parisian Year, contains a chapter on Parisian popular entertainment that influenced him during his 1910-1911 sojourn in the French capital. And Ron Schuchard, in his essay In the Music Halls, establishes the influence of British music hall on Eliot. Oh, he's doing a good job. I hope this is not too distracting. Today, I'm going to focus on the music and performers in popular entertainment, moving chronologically from Eliot's youth in St. Louis and Boston to his year in Paris when he was 22, and finally to his adulthood in London. I'll demonstrate how they informed the rhythm and shape of his works, provided him with lyrics, and inspired his willingness to experiment. I'll show illustrations, which will be hard to see, of sheet music, posters, venues, and performers. And Dr. Guy Hargrove, tenor extraordinaire, I'm his wife, so I can say that, and retired professor of voice at Mississippi State University, will sing the songs, many of which you may not have had the opportunity to hear previously. These lively, toe-tapping songs are a lot of fun, so please try to restrain yourselves from jumping up and dancing. I'll begin with a brief review of the major characteristics of variety theater, a broad umbrella term that includes most of the types of popular entertainment which Eliot experienced. American minstrel shows, vaudeville, revues, and musicals, Parisian café-concert, cafes with musical entertainment, and music halls, imported from England but given a French flavor, and British music halls and revues. All presented a series of different acts or turns featuring songs, comedy routines, and specialty acts such as magicians, dancers, and acrobats. Doing a great job. Can you guys see these at all? Okay. Okay, good. Well, hey, we don't get sun very often in England, do we? Where I live, we get it every day. The songs, often aimed at working class audiences, and romantic, sentimental, patriotic, or humorous in nature, consisted of a series of verses sung by the performer, each of which was followed by a refrain with which the audience typically joined in. A contemporary account of a Parisian café-concert, for example, notes that there is direct contact between the song and the people, for the audience takes up the refrain in a chorus, accepting the singer's invitation, which often ends the last verse, "Sing with me, repeat with me," an invitation facilitated by the sale of printed refrains. Eliot found this feature particularly appealing, noting in his famous 1922 essay on the British music hall star and comedian Marie Lloyd, the working man who joined in the chorus was himself performing part of the act. He was engaged in that collaboration of the audience with the audience, which is necessary in all art. I'm sorry, let me read that again. He was engaged in that collaboration of the audience with the artist, which is necessary in all art, and most obviously in dramatic art. To recreate this characteristic, you will join in on the chorus of 2 songs at the end of the presentation when Guy prompts you. It'll be fun. As Chenitz demonstrates, Eliot's youth in St. Louis was permeated with the exciting sounds of American popular music. In minstrel shows, vaudeville, revues, and musicals, as well as in honky-tonks and saloons, although at his young age, he surely was not allowed to go to the last 2. Ragtime, an original American musical genre, began in the late 1890s and was popular until the late teens when it was eclipsed by jazz. An abbreviation of ragged time, a reference to its ragged or syncopated rhythm, ragtime grew out of dance music played in red light districts in St. Louis and New Orleans, and jigs and marches played by African American brass bands. Its lyrics reflected the American vernacular and employed internal rhymes and jagged syntactical breaks. Since ragtime literally filled the St. Louis air, its rhythms and lyrics surely informed Eliot's own sense of rhythm and contributed to his appreciation for the daring and experimental from an early age, as well as providing him with actual lyrics for his works. In Boston, during his undergraduate years at Harvard, with occasional trips to New York City, Eliot's opportunities to experience popular entertainment expanded. There, for example, he could have attended George M. Cohan's 1907 musical, 50 Miles from Boston, which contained the song Harrigan. And Chenitz suggests that he probably heard My Eveline, 1901 song from a vaudeville minstrel act sung as a barbershop quartet at Harvard. And because of his love of ballroom dancing, he was familiar with current dance music. Now, the good part is starting here. Eliot's most well-known use of ragtime in his works is that Shakespearean Rag. There it is. From the 1912 Ziegfeld Follies. I could only find a picture of the 1913 Ziegfeld Follies, but that'll do. In section 2 of The Wasteland. In the scene portraying the upper-class couple in their ornately decorated flat, the frantic wife tries to elicit a response from her silent, depressed husband by asking, "Is there nothing in your head?" He only thinks the reply, "Nothing but, oh, 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 that Shakespearean rag. It's so elegant, so intelligent." A slight variation of the actual refrains, "that Shakespearean rag, most intelligent, very elegant." This fragment of a popular tune suggests the triviality and vacuity of his existence. The poem's odd spelling, Shakespearean, which is overlooked by most Eliot scholars, is surely meant to indicate both the syncopated beat of ragtime and the way the refrain sounds when sung by a music hall singer and repeated by the audience. As Guy sings the song, listen for his emphasis on this word in the chorus and note the reference to the grizzly bear. A popular dance, another slide, considered shocking at the time, here it is, which Schuhard tells us was the trademark of the British music hall star Ethel Levy, there she is, and whose steps Eliot offered to teach Virginia Woolf. He was quite fond of dancing. You know, he met Vivienne at a dance. Sarah M. Evans, in her book, Born for Liberty, notes that after a 10 to 12-hour day, young working-class women flocked to dance halls, where young men would treat them to drinks, and they would join in the faddish, tough dancing. The raw sexuality of dances like the slow rag, the turkey trot, the bunny hug, the grizzly bear, and shaking the shimmy horrified the middle classes. And here comes one of my favorite quotes. Such public eroticism shocked one magazine into announcing in 1913 that sex o'clock had struck. Guy will now sing that Shakespearean rag.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, I come not here to praise, but lend an ear, and you will hear a rag, yes, a rag that is grand. And Bill Shakespeare never knew of ragtime in his days, but the high-powered rhymes of his syncopated lines, you'll admit, surely fit any song that's now a hit. So this rag I submit. That Shakespearean rag, most intelligent, very elegant. That old classical drag has the proper stuff, the line Leon Macduff. Desdemona was Othello's pet, Romeo loved his Juliet, and they were some lovers, you can bet. And yet, I know if they were here today, they'd grizzly bear in a different way. And you'd hear old Hamlet say, to be or not to be, that Shakespearean rag.
He's pretty good, isn't he? Is my microphone still on? Is mine not at all? Okay. Two lines of the chorus of another popular song are found in the excised opening passage of The Wasteland. Harrigan, as I noted earlier, appeared in Cohen's 1907 musical, 50 Miles from Boston, sung by an Irish-American, there it is, proud of his heritage, with a rousing chorus that is still well known today. Eliot uses this song to characterize the group of lowbrows who are drinking and carousing when one of them recalls an earlier incident in which, can you change the slide? Thank you. Well, you can barely read it, but it's the circles part there. Okay, when one of them recalls an earlier incident in which we got Joe to sing, "I'm proud of all the Irish blood that's in me, there's not a man can say a word agin me." Eliot substitutes "there's not a man" for the original's Irish dialectal phrase "divil a man," meaning nary a man, obviously to avoid misunderstanding. Guy will now sing the chorus of Harrigan.
H-A-R-R-I-G-A-N spells Harrigan. Proud of all the Irish blood that's in me. Divil a man can say a word agin me. H-A-R-R-I-G-A-N, you see, is the name that a shame never has been connected with Harrigan. That's me.
We're all friends here, right? This has got to be informal because technology is kind of tricky. However, the two lines from Harrigan, now you can go to the next line, thanks, are circled in the typescript, and notations in the right margin indicate alternate choices. Lines from the songs By the Watermelon Vine and My Eveline, which are struck through, and two lines from the chorus of a 1909 ragtime song, the Cubanola Glide, which according to Chinitz was significant for its tropical rhythms, its African American dialect, and its contribution to the developing social dance craze. There it is. In the song, an amorous guy, no pun intended, his name is Guy. In the song, an amorous guy invites his honey babe to learn a Cuban dance that involves kissing and squeezing as they glide to glory. The lines from the chorus written in the margin are tease, squeeze, lovin' and wooin'. Say kid, what are you doing? With say kid substituted for the original's oh babe. Eliot was apparently quite fond of this particular song because he had used two other lines from the chorus, throw your arms around me, ain't you glad you found me, 10 years earlier, in The Smoke Which Gathers Blue and Sinks, a poem written in Paris in February 1911, which we'll come back to in a few minutes. Interestingly, this second pair of lines was adapted from a 1907 song entitled, Ain't You Glad You Found Me? There it is. Great. See, I didn't trust him, but now I do. As Guy sings the Cubanola Glide, listen for these two sets of lines in the chorus.
Way down in Cuba where skies are clear, where it's summertime all of the year. There's the lovingest dance I know. Come along, honey, babe, and I'll show you. Get away closer, then please squeeze me tight. Rag-a-tag to the left, then to the right. Shake it up, side by side. Cuddle right up to me as we slide. Ain't it entrancing when you're a-dancing that Cubanola glide? Glide, glide, keep on a-gliding, slide, slide, keep on a-sliding. Honey, look into your baby's eyes, throw your arms arms around me. Ain't you glad me found me? Tease, squeeze, loving and wooing. Oh, babe, what are you doing? Ride to glory by your baby's side when they do the Cubanola's glad.
I think that's my favorite song, in case you're interested. Eliot uses the song Under the Bamboo Tree in his highly experimental melodrama Sweeney Agonistes, wishing to convey to a broad audience the serious theme that the menace of savagery resides in modern civilization. He incorporated not only this song, but also numerous elements of the minstrel show, vaudeville, music hall, café-concert, and melodrama. For instance, when the play was first published in 1926 in the Criterion, it was entitled "Wanna Go Home, Baby?" to resemble a music hall song and/or a drunken question with modern-day sexual implications. Of course, he later changed the title to the one it bears today. Musically speaking, Eliot drew from ragtime and jazz, the latter of which had its beginnings in New Orleans in the mid to late teens with African-American musicians, and had become extremely popular by the early 20s in Europe as well as America. Both ragtime and jazz use syncopation and American slang and dialects, but jazz introduced improvisation, thus authorizing freewheeling experimentation and individuality on the part of the performers, and pushed the envelope with more and more daring uses of the vernacular and sexual innuendo. As Chinitz has shown, these and other aspects of popular entertainment can be seen in the play's irregular rhythm, its repetition, slang, rapid-fire crosstalk, sexual innuendo, and stock characters. Concerning the characters, Shuhard has suggested that the British music hall comedian George Roby's prehistoric man, there he is a model for Sweeney, and of course I think he's right. So now back to Under the Bamboo Tree. Written by the African-American songwriters Bob Cole and brothers James Weldon and Rosamond Johnson for their popular vaudeville act, it was then included in the 1902 Broadway musical Sally in Our Alley. Sung by Marie Cahill, and there she is in the lower corner. It was such a hit that she sang it again in her next show, Nancy Brown. Guy will now sing this song, which tells of a Zulu from Matabulu who woos a jungle maiden. And I dare you to say that fast.
Down in the jungles lived a maid of royal blood, old dusky shade. A marked impression once she made upon a Zulu from Matabulu. And every morning he would be down underneath the bamboo tree, awaiting there his love to see, and then to her he'd sing. If you like me like I like you, and we like both the same, I like say this very day, I like change your name. 'Cause I love you and love you too, and if you love me, one live as two, two live as one, under the bamboo tree.
In the second part of Sweeney Agonistes, the characters Sam Watchope and Captain Horseball, accompanied in minstrel show style by Swartz and Snow on the tambourine and bones, castanets, sing a humorous but sinister version of the chorus, elicited by Sweeney's proposal to carry Doris off to a cannibal isle. So these are the lines from Sweeney Agonistes. Under the bamboo, 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 under the bamboo tree, two live as one live as two live as three, under the bam, under the boo, under the bamboo tree. Peter Ackroyd reports that Eliot sang this song for his guests at a party celebrating his winning the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1948. Can't you just see Eliot singing that song? Eliot left Harvard and America in 1910 for a year in Paris, where he attended courses given by the famous philosopher Henri Bergson at the Collège de France, and simultaneously searched for his poetic voice in the home of French poets, such as Jules Lafort. With the sounds of American popular music ringing in his ears, he doubtless couldn't wait to check out the famous or infamous Parisian forms of light entertainment. Removed as he was by an entire ocean from the watchful eye of his mother and of Bostonian proper society. There he heard French popular music along with the American tunes that were staples in Parisian night spies. Nancy Perloff describes the Paris of this time as one vast entertainment world with a wide array of offerings, two of the most dominant being café-concert and music hall. The major offering, here we go, of café-concert, and I'll have to stop, this is called Le Ciel. Anybody know your French well enough? Well, sky, but heaven. Actually, it means heaven in this context. And nearby was its kind of opposite number, l'enfer, hell. So those were two café-concerts. In the café-concert, I love this drawing, one could drink, smoke, and move around freely while listening to banal songs of a coarse, crude, and humorous nature sung by various performers, with the audience joining in on the refrains. Between the rounds of sentimental or licentious love songs, oh, that's a really good slide, but I don't think you can see it too well. Between the rounds of sentimental or licentious love songs, patriotic songs, and idiotic songs were dances, comic skits, and reviews. One of the most popular singers was Dronin, whose signature idiotic song was Le Petit Pois, green peas. It had 10 verses, each of which was followed by the refrain, Ça ne se mange pas avec les doigts. Don't eat them with your fingers. Félix Mayol, known for his lively, light-hearted songs, owned his own café-concert. There it is. Which was attended by Le Tout Paris, the cream of Parisian society. He was famous for his perfect diction, his raised tuft of hair, his elegant formal clothing, and the sprig of lily of the valley at his lapel. Several YouTube videos, you can look them up yourself, show him doing dance movements while singing that look silly and even laughable today, but at the time were a part of his appeal. His most celebrated song, the 1902 hit, Viens Poupoule, Come On Chick, is about a Parisian working-class man who invites his wife to go to a café-concert on Saturday night, urging her to hurry so that they will get good seats for the entertainment. He says that the songs will make him naughty, reminding her that that's how he became a papa. To give you an authentic French flavor, Guy will now sing my old signature song, but without the tuft of hair, the lapel flower, or the dance movements.
Le samedi soir, après turbin, l'ouvrier parisien dit à sa femme comme un dessert, je te paye le café-concert. On va filer bras dessous, aux galeries en 20 sous. Mais vite en rond, faut le dépêcher pour être bien placé. Car il faut, mon coco, entendre tous les cabots. Viens, poupoule, viens. Quand je j'entends des chansons, ça me rend tout pâlissant. Ah. Viens Poupoule, viens. Souviens-toi que c'est comme ça que je suis devenu papa.
You're doing a great job. I've described the Parisian Café Concert in some detail because although Eliot did not echo any of its specific songs in his works, a bit puzzling since he certainly used foreign languages, he was highly influenced by the interaction between singer and audience, and he used its setting and performers in several poems written in Paris in 1911, most notably, The Smoke That Gathers Blue and Sinks. Among several types of Parisian Café Concert performers was the gommeuse, a sensual singer of sexually explicit songs who is typically buxom but had a poor voice. Here's a good picture of one here if you can see it. In the poem, Eliot's speaker describes the entertainment in such a venue as a woman matching the description of a gommeuse, a lady of almost any age, but chiefly breasts and rings. She sings, "Throw your arms around me, ain't you glad you found me," from the chorus of the Cubanola Glide, an authentic combination of French and American influences since American ragtime was very popular in Paris at that time. The influence of specific performers in Parisian music halls, and this is the most famous Parisian music hall called Bataclan, like a huge Japanese pagoda, is also evident in Eliot's works. Harry Fragson, he was British, so I'll use that pronunciation. He would be called Frogson in Paris, was a comedian and singer who delighted Parisian audiences with his inimitable cocoricos, his comic hallmark. Eliot perhaps heard this French onomatopoetic word for the crowing of a rooster at one of Fragson's performances at the Alhambra Music Hall in November 1910, and used it as a symbol of hope when the Wasteland's protagonist arrives at the ruined chapel. The first music hall performer to accompany himself on the piano, Fragson sang comic, sentimental, and patriotic songs with whose refrains the audiences joined in. Fina Montjoie, and there she is in all her beauty, a leading female singer in a popular revue in the fall of 1910, may have furnished the name Maisie Montjoy, which Eliot uses in his last play, The Elder Statesman, for the stage name of the beautiful star of revue with whom Lord Claverton had a love affair as a young man. She tells other characters that her name once topped the bill in revue and was known by everyone in London. The hit song, which made her reputation, was entitled "It's Not Too Late for You to Love Me," which she sang with great emotion as a result of her anguish at Lord Claverton's breaking off with her. While I could not find an actual popular song with that title, and believe me, I looked, it's certainly typical of the genre. This drawing, with the title "Epileptic Singer," vulgar gestures and a voice like vinaigrette, captures another type of café concert performer, the most famous of whom was the dancer Polaire. There she is, who expanded the singer's vulgar gestures to create the epileptic dance genre with her frenetic movements, shaking, jerking, and twirling her body in a manner considered scandalous at the time. Indeed, she was described as the agitating and agitated Polaire. At the time of Eliot's arrival in Paris, audiences at the Moulin Rouge thrilled to La Danse Noire, described in the October 25, 1910 issue of the leading Parisian newspaper Le Figaro as an impassioned and brutal dance by Polaire and Gaston Sylvestre. She may have been the model for the actual epileptic in Eliot's 1917 poem Sweeney Erect, since the latter's appearance closely resembles Polaire's disheveled hair, immense dark eyes that appeared bruised, and large, voracious mouth. And this is a quote from the poem. "This withered root of knots of hair slitted below and gashed with eyes, this oval O cropped out with teeth. Perhaps the most celebrated Parisian performer was the singer, dancer, and comedienne Miss Danguette, or La Miss Danguette, the Miss Danguette, as she was called, who appeared at the Moulin Rouge, there it is, the Folies Bergère, the El Dorado, and the Casino de Paris. Eliot doubtless saw her perform during his 1910-1911 year in Paris, and he did see her in January 1922 in Paris on his way back to London after his treatment in Lausanne. In his London letter of 1922, he wrote, "In Paris, I saw Miss Danguette at the Casino de Paris, noting that she is versatile, and made me think of Marie Lloyd's directness, frankness, and ferocious humor." A particularly noteworthy intersection of American and Parisian popular entertainment that influenced Eliot in writing The Wasteland was the scandalous Cubist ballet Parade, which combined elements of music hall, street fair, circus, cinema, and ragtime. First performed in Paris in 1917, it appeared in 1919 in London, where Eliot probably saw it. The composer Erik Satie incorporated into his innovative score the melody of the chorus of Irving Berlin's 1911 That Mysterious Rag, which had been featured in a review at the Moulin Rouge in 1913. As Guy sings it, yes, you're going to get to hear him again, listen for the melody in the chorus and keep it in your mind. We'll come back to it. That Mysterious Rag. One before, sorry.
Did you hear it? Were you near it? If you weren't, then you've yet to fear it. Once you've met it, you'll regret it, just because you never will forget it. If you ever wake up from your dreaming, of scheming, eyes gleaming, then if suddenly you take a screaming fit, that's it. That mysterious rag, while awake or while you're slumbering, you're saying, keep playing that mysterious rag. Are you listening? Are you listening? Look, look, you're whistling that mysterious rag. Sneaky, freaky, ever melodious, mysterious rag.
Satie's use of this popular ragtime song no doubt inspired Eliot to include that Shakespearean rag in his groundbreaking poem. Satie also incorporated into the score sounds of lowbrow entertainment. Two more. Yeah, here. Sounds of lowbrow entertainment such as the calliope, the lottery wheel, and the small bands of Parisian street fairs, and sounds of the modern industrial world such as typewriters, sirens, airplanes, and trains, perhaps an inspiration for Eliot's description in The Wasteland of the bells of St. Mary Woolnoth, the horns and motors of urban traffic, and the inclusion of a typist. In the following three excerpts, they're all the same, from the score, listen for the sounds of a typewriter and a band, as well as the melody of that mysterious rag. I'll indicate these various elements as they appear. So that's number 7. Is that 7, Guy?
Yeah.
7? That's it. Can you turn it up? Yeah. Typewriter. Band. that mysterious rag in the melody? There it is again. Here's the finale. Typewriter again. There's that melody again. Furthermore, I can oops. Okay, next slide, please. Furthermore, the major character in the ballet is the Chinese conjurer, based on the wildly popular Chinese magician Chung Ling Soo, actually an American, named William Ellsworth Robinson, and danced by Leonide Massine. Eliot probably saw this famed magician at the Alhambra Music Hall in Paris, where he performed annually from 1910 to 1918, and or in London at the Empire, the Alhambra, or the Colosseum, music halls which Eliot frequented. Finally, I will turn to the stars and songs of the British Music Hall. Eliot greatly admired the queen of the halls, the inimitable Marie Lloyd, known for her mischievous wink and her bawdy songs, such as, "What's that for, eh?" and "She'd never had her ticket punched before." She always envisaged the seamy side of life with gusto rather than deprecation, according to James Agate. I like that quote. Her trademark song, "Oh, Mr. Porter," about a woman who takes the wrong train but receives an offer of marriage from an elderly passenger with plenty of sexual innuendo and opportunities for lewd gestures, is considered by some scholars as a possible source for Mrs. Porter in the Wasteland. A bit of a stretch, I think. Guy will pretend to be Marie Lloyd and sing the first verse and the chorus.
Lately I just spent a week with my old Aunt Brown. Came up to see the wondrous sights of famous London town. Just a week I had of it, all round the place we'd roam. Wasn't I sorry on that day I had to go back home. Worried about with packing, I arrived late at the station. Dropped my hat box in the mud, the things all fell about. Got my ticket, said goodbye, right away the guard did cry, but I found the train was wrong and shouted out, "Oh, Mr. Porter, what shall I do? I want to go to Birmingham, but they've taken me on to Crewe. Send me back to London as quickly as you can. Oh, Mr. Porter, what a silly girl I am."
Makes a pretty good Marie Lloyd. Of course, the major source is "Oh, the Moon Shone Bright on Mrs. Porter," a bawdy ballad of uncertain origin sung by Australian soldiers in World War I about the owner of a brothel in Cairo and her daughter. In his notes to the Wasteland, Eliot comments, "I do not know the origin of the ballad from which these lines are taken. It was reported to me from Sydney, Australia." While one version has a vulgar word in place of the word feet, Guy will sing the more, I hope, polite version that appears in The Wasteland.
Oh, the moon shone bright on Mrs. Porter and on her daughter, for she's a snorter. Oh, they wash their feet in soda water, and so they oughter to keep them clean.
He always tells me he's going to sing the vulgar word, and I tell him I'll kill him if he does. The song At Trinity Church I Met My Doom, made famous by the music hall comedian Tom Costello, is about a man who meets a noble, buxom creature at ballroom dances. And as he puts it, like to salmon, I was speared. Believing her claims to be 25 and wealthy, he weds her, mourning in the chorus the rotten life he now leads. And he refers to himself as an MUG, that was a slang term for a dupe or a fool. A YouTube video, which you can look up, of Costello performing this song shows him with a top hat, a rumpled frock coat, a big hump on his backside, whose significance is not at all apparent, and a cane with which he imitates spearing a salmon. As he sings, he prances around what seems to be the top back room of the song. After finishing the song, he confides to an apparent male audience that the woman pulls the string and the man is a yo-yo, and admits that he was foolish to get married twice. Eliot's rendition of the song's lyrics is sung by the Cockney foreman Ethelbert in The Rock. Guy will now sing At Trinity Church.
Months ago, with decent chances, prospects of success in life, through foolish love of ballroom dances, trouble came, I met my wife. Such a noble, buxom creature, she in my eyes then appeared. False she was, though fair of feature, like to salmon I was speared. She told me her age was 25, cash in the bank, of course she plenty. Like a lamb, I believed it all. I was an MUG. At Trinity Church, I met my doom. Now we live in a top back room, up to my eyes in debt for renty. That's what she's done for me.
And so we arrive at One-Eyed Riley. Next slide, please. A traditional Irish drinking song which exists in many versions, some of which are quite vulgar. Indeed, Shuhart includes a bawdy English version in which the singer reveals that he would like to shag, rather than marry, the bar owner's daughter, ending with the chorus, hi-yi-yi, the one-eyed Riley. Rub it up, stuff it up, bum and all, play it on your old bass drum. Eliot, however, uses a quite respectable version in The Cocktail Party, sung merrily and unexpectedly by the unidentified guest in the first act. And Eliot originally intended to use the song's title as the title of the play. Guy will sing this version, which is printed at the end of the play. And in true music hall fashion, you will join in on the chorus the second time when Guy prompts you. The words are on the handout.
As I was walking round and round and round in every quarter, I walked into a public house and ordered up my gin and water. Too really, what's the matter with One-Eyed Riley? as I was drinking gin and water, and me being the one-eyed Riley, who came in but the landlord's daughter, and she took my heart entirely. Tootery-ooly, what's the matter with one-eyed Riley?
You did pretty well. You probably need another practice, but we don't have time. Eliot clearly enjoyed the music and the performers of the varied forms of popular entertainment. Indeed, as Schuhard tells us, Eliot sang or hummed popular music all his life, noting Mary Trevelyan's revelation in her unpublished memoir that he would sing tunelessly in a low, harsh voice on the way home after dinner, music hall songs of his youth or Negro spirituals, as well as Valerie Elliott's statement that he possessed an astounding repertoire of music hall ditties, which he sang even in his last years. Of even greater importance for literary studies, he made significant and extensive use of popular entertainment from his earliest literary works to his last. I hope that you've enjoyed learning about this music, hearing it performed, and in true music hall fashion, joining in on the chorus of One-Eyed Riley. To close the program, you're going to get to sing the chorus of one of the most popular and well-known ragtime songs, Irving Berlin's 1911 Alexander's Ragtime Band. Okay. No, sorry. Picture. Okay, and one more. There it is. Thank you, you're doing a great job. Okay, so this song, Alexander's Ragtime Band, spread ragtime beyond America's shores into Europe. Although Eliot did not use any lines from it in his poetry, it's a delightful song and I wanted to include it. So I found a tie, albeit slender, with the topic of this presentation, in that Chinitz has suggested that the song's description of the band leader as a ragged meter man applies perfectly to Eliot the poet. So listen for that reference as Guy sings the first verse, and then join him on the chorus, which is on the handout. Thanks for being a great audience.
Better hurry and let's meet. Oh my honey, oh my honey, oh my honey. Better hurry and let's meander. Ain't you going to the leader man, ragged meter man? Oh my honey, let me take you to Alexander's grandstand, last band. Ain't you coming along? Come on in here, Alexander's Ragtime Band. Come on in here, it's the best band in the land. They can play a bugle call like you never heard before, so natural that you